Can be an extra set of hands.
There's so much construction going on there. It's crazy.
She's coming.
And then,
See, I'm still signing mine.
All right, we'd like to call this meeting of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School District to order, please. Mr. Bailey, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Suzette, could you do the roll, please?
Ms. Klug.
Here.
Mr. Schultz.
here.
Mr. Bailey.
Present.
Mr. Lee.
Here.
Mr. Ustra.
Here.
Mrs. Justin.
Here.
Mr. Sikich.
Present.
Mr. Keller is excused. And President Emmett.
Here. Okay, proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. Do we have any additions or modifications to tonight's agenda? We do, actually.
Oh, sorry, I do. Sorry. Central student representative was not able to make it tonight, so we need to remove that from tonight's agenda.
Anything else? All right. We will then go on to public comments. You're ready, come on up, so I'll have you introduce yourself and name and address, and then 3 minutes, and then we'll get everything recorded and get your response shortly after.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
My name is Heidi Agner Bailey, and I reside at the residence of 2571 South 95th Street. And I am here based on my children, all 3 of them go to General Mitchell School, and received their last report card and was kind of in shock of what I saw and questioned grading practices within General Mitchell School, as nothing had been further communicated with my 3 children in regards to how they were doing performance-wise, other than A's and B's. And getting their report cards, C's were coming home, and I questioned what was taking place with the classroom teachers, and I was made aware that they are now, or were at General Mitchell School, taking 25% of the MAP score and factoring that into their grade. That is a standardized test score, and as a parent, it was never communicated to myself, my husband, that they were now taking standardized test scores in consideration of classroom grades. As a parent, I find that extremely alarming, to the point where I pulled all 3 of my children off all standardized tests from here into the future until the district figures out what the current grading practices are going to be. I did get in touch with Deidre and questioned the grading practices, asking her if this was a district initiative, because that is what I was told by a teacher within the building, and it was not supported by the district. It is not a school district initiative, but it was a building initiative at the time, and it has not been communicated to me if this was from principal directive or if this was just taken on by teachers. So I, as a parent, am very frustrated that my kids are now being labeled with a test score that shows them what their performance is in a classroom, where that should never be a factor. It should be an indicator of where their progression of learning needs to progress, but it should not be a factorization in their grade. It has now been communicated that it has been taken back and my child's grades have been adjusted on their report card, but my fear is that this has not been communicated to the rest of the General Mitchell population, and other parents are unaware that this was a factor on their child's report card. So I asked the school board, the school district, to have that building be held accountable to communicate this to parents and have other students who have been heavily impacted by their test scores to have those grades changed on their report cards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tiffany Makowiak?
Good evening. I'm Tiffany Wahoviak. I reside at 2955 South 93rd Street, of course, West Dallas. I too am here with the concerns with the MAPS testing that was done, which is fine, but was not aware that it would be a part of my child's grade. That has been rectified, and I too piggyback on that it should be communicated to the parents, and that it could affect children when it comes to like the presidential awards as well as the fitness awards. I'm just glad, Deidre, and I do appreciate your response in that matter. Before coming here, I wanted to do a little bit of research, though, in regards to grading policy and assessment within the district. And I did look on the website, and the district does follow the DPI standard, Department of Public Instruction. And when you go to DPI, which I'm sure you're very well versed in that website, it's not very user-friendly. And I really could not find any type of grading policy that they have in place. My concern, though, resides with my child, specifically in 4th grade. Because of this MAPS testing and applied to his grade, I then found out how the grading was broken down by percentage. And with communication with the principal, it was expressed that the teacher uses their judgment and their professional discretion, which to some extent I'm okay with, because I'm an instructor and professor, so I understand that, but I do have a rubric and policies that the college has in place that I need to follow. I can't come up with that information on my own. So, you know, moving forward and looking at, you know, I'll specifically spell like 4th grade. You know, do all those teachers practice the same way in regards to grading? Do they all follow that percentage? Now, if my child moves to 5th grade and his grades are different, is that based on different percentages that those teachers have? So not only within that grade level, but also with different grade levels is my concern. There seems to be not a consistency, and that to me I find concerning as a parent. And so that's what I wanted to come to you tonight to see if that is something that can be looked at. I know I can't get answers, but I'm hoping that can be addressed in the future. I know that Mr. Johnson does provide, as he put it, some guidance for teachers in developing their grading policy, but leaves it up to their professional judgment. And keep in mind that some of these teachers have this is their first year teaching, so may not have that knowledge, background. They may not have a coach or mentor to help them with that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all we have listed for public comments. Were there any others in the back? No? Okay. All right, we will go on to the superintendent's report.
Excellent. So we're going to start tonight, since we don't have a representative from West Allis Central, with West Milwaukee Intermediate School and their school showcase.
Thank you. I'm Principal Tom Blair of West Milwaukee Intermediate School. Thank you for having us this evening. To start off our showcase, we want to talk about some of the highlights that we've got in our most recent school report card. While we're not satisfied with the score that we have, we did, find some shining spots on there. In our student achievement, we did want, to recognize that there were increases in both the ELA categories and the math categories over the last 3 school years, from the 15-16 school year to the 17-18 school year. ELA has gone up from 20.7 to 24.4, and math has increased from 15.1 to 21.3. We'd like to increase those improvements every year, but we're proud of where we're at with them, that we are still moving forward. Also, we like to recognize that we are a very culturally diverse school, one of the most culturally diverse middle schools in the Milwaukee area, if not the state, which we're very proud of. When we look across our lunchroom in our school, and we see kids from all different socioeconomic and ethnic backgrounds. And to talk a little bit about our clubs and activities, Associate Principal Ryan Hammernet.
Hi, good evening. At West Milwaukee, we take pride in educating the whole child. Some of our progressive hard work and many of our staff members that are here will address and highlight some areas. At the beginning of the day, we really spent a lot of time on greeting and meeting kids by name at the door, and we have a point of entry breakfast, which kind of starts us off. And the reason why we want to talk about the point of entry breakfast and also the clubs, it's the connectedness of having a safe and welcoming school at the beginning of the day, but then also extending after school hours in terms of opportunities to work with kids. We're proud to say this is in one of our highly visible areas in the main hallway on the second floor, just outside the main office. We're just about to 20 clubs, and we have more than 125 participants. When I say 125 participants, that would give the credit to the student that may have signed up for 3 of the clubs on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So this year, what we found is we had to be really mindful in terms of the days of the week. Obviously, Friday is not as popular as a Tuesday, Thursday offering, but as well as a variety. Most recently today was really kind of a neat moment. I came down to Mr. Blair, and we're working with the student to be more connected in school. And he would kind of admit that his way of trying to earn his respect with his peers is to kind of fit in and do some of the negative things. And I was pretty honest with him. I said, you know, if you really want to earn respect from your classmates, we want you to be good at something. So he thought about it over the weekend, and I assured him I would call him down today, and I did. And he's going to start the anime club. On his own, he goes, really? I can be president? So, you know, the idea that, you know, it's custom and we're full service to the student to meet them kind of at their level, to really connect them further to school, and to be an open campus at the beginning, throughout the day, and to the extended hours of school. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Holly Skelton. She's going to talk to you a little bit about the hard work with the PBS initiatives, as well as the PTSA.
Good evening, Holly Skelton. I teach Spanish at West. I'm here representing a couple different pieces of our program at West. I wanted to highlight our PTSA. Our president, Wendy Lewis, couldn't make it tonight, but we just wanted to highlight some of the events that we've brought to West Milwaukee through our PTSA. Our goal with PTSA this year is to positively engage our families in the school culture and community by doing more things that they can attend after school. We have 100% staff membership in our PTSA, which we're really proud of. This is the 3rd year in a row that we've had that. And some of the events that we've run this year alone include our color run, our haunted hallway. We've had our vendor fair and pancake breakfast. That was the first year we kind of brought that back, and it was pretty successful. We've had our Hunger Task Force food drive, which was a school-wide event, and our sixth annual chili cook-off. So every year it gets bigger and bigger, so we've been pretty proud of the way that we've been able to involve our families at West so far this year. And I will call Mary Pat Michaels up.
There will be a 7th annual chili cook-off if anybody from the school board wants to try their hand at it. Just
The
throwing it out
gauntlet's
there.
been thrown out, guys.
Okay, so I have my pictures that you all recognize from the music showcase from last time. So in Deeper Learning, we have student-led rehearsals down at the bottom corner, guest soloists, and many others have joined. And then the adaptive music is up in the top by my name there. And they actually organized themselves, assigned parts, and just started playing one of their songs that they knew at the beginning of class without teacher direction, which was a huge thing that happened one day. We have our traditional concerts in December and May, and then orchestra also does a concert with Shining Strings in March. Last year we did a multicultural night, and we also did our Panther Idol Talent Show. In community involvement, you can see pictures of the a cappella choir leading the tree lighting, the Memorial Day parade that the band participated in, and then orchestra, along with Frank Lloyd Wright, did the West Dallas a la carte. Orchestra did something new. Last year we had a professional string quartet come and perform a 45-minute concert. Shining Strings and the West Milwaukee Orchestra also participated in that concert and played with them, and then we had a reception afterwards. The proceeds were able, with that money, we were able to have 12 students take summer lessons for free last summer, so that was a very cool thing. The West Milwaukee kids had not been participating in our summer lesson programs in the past, mostly because of financial situation, and so then we did that, and I did the lessons over at West, so that worked out nicely. And then clinics and festivals, we have our Solo Ensemble Festival, and if you look at our numbers from 2017, we earned 15 medals, and last year we earned 110 medals. So we worked really hard to bring that up and have more kids participating. And then there's a band picture. Rick Kirby came and worked with the band on a piece that he had composed, and so he came to school and worked with the band. So everybody's been doing other things besides their regular class and concerts, so it's kind of cool. And I will turn it back over to Tom.
So that's, kind of the stuff outside of the day, as well as our music programs and things. As the leader last year, I spent the year really observing what's going on, who our students are, who our staff are, and trying to help formulate a vision for the school and what things we're doing, what we do well, what we should continue to do, and some things that we should try and build on. The three areas that we're looking to grow to help identify who we are is our project-based learning. We'll share a little bit more about that. We're really interested in Avid and the things that are happening at Central and how we can build a program to help support the things that they have there. And our multi-tiered systems of support, which is, if you go back just a couple years, it was response to intervention and PBIS. And bringing those together, we've been recognized, and you'll hear a little bit more about those. And looking at those frameworks, we spent a lot of time as a leadership staff this summer talking about how, can we take these things and tie them to, the deeper learning competencies and really, make them worthwhile as, to really drive what we're doing. And we'll have another slide a little bit further to talk, to show how we're going to bring these things together. But I'd like to bring up Holly Skelton she introduced herself as a Spanish teacher. She does much more than that, I assure you. But to talk about, and Holly Bodish, if you would come up also, to talk about PBIS and RTI and our multi-tiered systems of support.
So I also am our Tier 1 internal coach for PBIS and our multi-tiered system of support at West. So we have done a lot of work the last few years around getting our MTSS really up and running and implementing it with fidelity. Last year, we were one of 2 schools in the district that got silver recognitions in all 3 areas of behavior, reading, and math. And through that, we have really tried to acknowledge the positives with our students, making sure that they know what they're doing right, when they're doing it right, so we can keep building on that momentum with our students. Our transition to MTSS has been easy for some and more challenging for others because it is kind of a mindset shift for a lot of people, but we're kind of starting from the ground up and we're hitting it running. So the first thing that we did in the upper, if you're looking at the upper right-hand corner, is we totally restructured our school-wide flow chart. And that was to establish a common language with students and staff throughout the building, and to really make things a lot more clear and put the pieces of the puzzle together a little bit more. So we identified the district initiatives that were implemented in our flow chart. So that's the PTRC that you see, PBIS, trauma-informed care, restorative practices, culturally responsive practices, so that everyone could see that we're doing all these things already in our building, and a lot of these things overlap. So when we talk about all of these different things that we should be doing in our buildings, even though it's all best practice and they all have different names, all the pieces do fit together. We also implemented our Alternative Learning Center, our ALC, and Mr. Hammernick has really been instrumental in getting that off the ground running. It's a place where students can go and reset themselves. So a 5 to 10 minute break where oftentimes they would be forced to, not forced, but they would have to sit in the classroom with no other place to go other than an exclusionary disciplinary action. The ALC, they can advocate for a break, get themselves reset, and come back to class ready to go. And with that alone, we've seen almost a 50% decrease in our exclusionary discipline. So we've been really impressed with how that's been working out for us. We also removed the language using consequence and replaced that with intervention, which the kids have really picked up on that as well, which I think has put a lot more positive, progressive spin on what we're trying to do to keep the kids engaged in learning as much as possible. We do a lot of acknowledging the positives for our kids. We have a quarterly raffle. We pass out our Panther perks to do incentives. We recently did our Staff First Student Relays that you can see in the bottom right corner. It's like, where's Walder? Where's Mr. Blair in the picture? He's in there. But the kids had a really good time. We have quarterly VIP, so Ms. Bodish recently took some nominated students to go see a movie, and we also acknowledge students who have perfect attendance. We've been working on improving our staff training, at all of our systems at all levels to ensure fidelity and consistency of implementation. And really what we're trying to do at the end of the day is build healthy relationships with our families, our students, and our staff to, like Ryan said, before school, end of school, and make that whole day a safe and consistent place for the kids.
So this slide is in here. This shows a picture. Sorry, Holly Bodish. I am deeper learning coach at West Milwaukee. This picture just shows what our calendar looks like for our morning home-based time. So each day there is a lesson around social emotional learning, PBIS, cool tools that teach expectations, goal setting, growth mindset. All of these things are tied into our home base. We have a team of teachers that work on these lessons to put them together, so there's a consistent message across the building for all students and staff. It's really neat to see if you ever want to come in the morning and see this in action, because you'll see and hear the same thing in every classroom for the first 15 minutes of the day. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that for people that have been there to see it.
So that kind of spoke to our Tier 1 systems. When we look at our Tier 2 systems, that's where we've been focusing a lot of our efforts this year, because our Tier 1 systems are pretty solid. So one of the first things that we did was looked at our scheduling and figure out how we could expand our co-teaching and coaching models so that we could increase student time in the Tier 1 environment, because we really wanted our focus to be layering student supports rather than siloing them into tiers. And we've seen a lot of success with being able to keep the kids in the Tier 1 classroom more. We also updated our student intervention planner and our request for assistance form. That has been very helpful in conjunction with Panorama to make sure we have all student data in one location. I can't tell you how invaluable that has been for us to be able to access everything in one place. It's been really good for putting together student plans and setting their interventions and tracking their progress. When we start our Tier 2 supports, we've been working to have more student and family ownership and involvement, really being proactive about getting that weekly feedback to families and including students in the planning of their interventions. What would motivate you to be successful? Why do you think you're not being successful in these areas? What type of plan can we help set up that you're gonna buy into? It seems like such an obvious piece, but it was one that we were lacking, and we've seen a lot of student movement and success in our Tier 2 programs that way. We've also been working on personalizing our interventions to meet more specific student needs. So our check-in, check-out program has specific student goals related to our school-wide expectations rather than generalized goals that all students should be meeting, because at Tier 2, the goals should be more specific. We also have our student mentoring program off the ground and running. It's we're pairing students up with teacher volunteers as like a point of contact throughout the day, that if they need a safe place to go to disengage from something that might be going on, or they had a success that they want to share, they have another adult connection in that building that they can go to. Good. Next up, we have Corey Higgins. He is one of our school counselors at West.
Good evening, my name is Corey Higgins. I'm one of 2 school counselors at West Milwaukee Intermediate School. And I'm going to kind of further talk about educating the whole child and kind of what we do in student services. If you notice the first 2 agenda items, I'll be talking about some of the mental health assistance that we've received this year. And a recent report came out as of last week through life expectancy. And one of the statistics that came out was there's been a 30% increase in depression and anxiety throughout the nation. We are definitely also feeling that within the schools. So to start off, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone in the building for providing some of this help and assistance for us, because it is absolutely needed. So we appreciate that help. It's kind of in its infancy, but we're working with St. A. Currently we have 5 students meeting for individual therapy, and that number is increasing. St. A is looking to hire another individual to help us out, because our number is increasing there. Through St. A, we're also working to create groups for students of incarcerated parents and students of divorced parents. We also have a therapist, Mr. Wolf, who meets every other Monday with 7 of our students for individual therapy. We have safe and supported groups with Joni and Alicia that meet every other week. We've got 3 groups running for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Holiday assistance, through the generosity throughout our community and surrounding communities, we were able to provide 10 of our families with a full Thanksgiving meal. Currently, we are assisting near 20-plus families for Christmas with the help of Aurora, West Milwaukee Police Department Shop with a Cop program, and we're looking to further that as well. Some of the curriculum that myself and the other school counselor deliver is mindfulness within the classroom, internet and cell phone safety, anti-bullying lessons, AOTA lessons, personal safety, signs of suicide. Last week we completed our 8th grade career fair, and through the feedback that we received in previous years, this was the first year that we included entry-level positions from the state fair and Culver's. Being that our students are turning 13, 14, 15, they're starting to ask questions about work permits and things, so that was a really nice addition, and the State Fair and Culver's really knocked it out of the park for us. They were a really great addition, and that we saw with some of the feedback this year that the students really got a lot out of that. We continue 8th grade planning, scheduling and transition conferences for every 8th grade student. We do elementary to intermediate transition presentations at every elementary school within our zone. We do SAG groups that's through data through PBIS, kind of dictate some of our needs within the building, and then we'll run groups through that. And then individual counseling on a case-by-case basis.
Moving on to AVID, Holly Bodish will come up and speak to that. I want to clarify something that was mentioned in one of the previous slides. When we referenced our exclusionary discipline, what should have been said was that our out-of-school suspension rate has reduced by 50%. If we look at our overall exclusionary discipline, because we're trying to utilize the ALC and in school a little bit more so that we can do the restorative piece with the students and have them, the discipline piece be at our school. I mean, ideally at some point we want that to reduce, but it's slow steps, so we want to make sure that we're still following the protocols necessary for kids.
Okay. So AVID is a piece that we are partnering with Central High School on. This is something that they've had for at least 8 years, if I'm correct, and running strong over at Central. They're looking now at the next steps to become a demo school. So this is something that's strong and up and running, and we want our students to have the strategies that are used at Central High School to help them be more successful when they transition. So last summer, 4 of our staff members, myself and 3 others, went to the Summer Institute in Minneapolis to learn about AVID with Central staff. And this year we're committed, we're in our planning year. So this year we're committed to these things. We're doing site visits, offering site visits for staff, so I've been setting those up. We had one in September for 2 schools. I have more set up in February, and of course we can go to Central at any time and see AVID in action there. On-site and off-site PD, so morning staff strategy sharing meetings on Tuesday mornings, and I have that linked in there that you could go and see. We keep all of everything that we discuss in our strategy sharing meetings is there for staff to go back to. So we're doing a lot of AVID things in the morning. And we also, Central is allowing us to be a part of their after-school PD for AVID, so that's really nice too. We're going to be offering culturally responsive teaching in AVID. There will be a training offered in June, and then again we will send more people to Summer Institute. And then building the partnership with Central is really key. We had a lot of our students really interested in AVID, and a lot more West kids are part of AVID at Central as freshmen this year than in years past. So looking forward, next year we're committed to training more teachers in AVID school-wide strategies. We want to build it school-wide to be really strong in everybody using and best practice within the classroom. I think of it back as like our CER, when we were really strong in doing CERs across the district, or using Stephanie Harvey strategies, everybody doing something across the building so that kids are familiar and able to transfer these skills when they move on. So being able to take notes and things like that. We want to be really strong school-wide in organization and note-taking for next year, and really embedding AVID within the culture of West Milwaukee. And then in years down the road, then we will add electives.
Next up, Becky Jairus Anderson will speak about our project-based learning.
Good evening. My name is Becky Jairus. I am the innovation coach at West Milwaukee Intermediate School. The project-based learning is somewhat in its infancy in our building. Last year, I had the privilege of being on a team that started some of this within the building from the desire and the need to do things differently. After many school visits and reading and reaching out to other schools that were doing some of these things, we were able to start some of that. Within that team, they were able to change up their schedule with their own time constraints. They were able to start giving ownership to the kids as far as independent learning hour, where they were in charge of the variables that they wanted to achieve. And then they also implemented an inquiry, a genius hour, project-based learning. Some of those terms are synonymous. So this year, I'm happy to say that 2 other teams, a 6th grade and an 8th grade team, have also followed suit in that and wanting this desire to do something different, to do it differently, to reach more kids. With that said, not only do we have a 6th, a 7th, and an 8th grade team that are currently doing this, we also have other teachers. There's another 6th grade team that have started doing it because they were able to see it last year and saw their kids' excitement saying, why are we doing these things? And the buy-in. So the project-based learning, you can see some of the images. We're also using cross grades for feedback. So some of the pictures have 8th graders that are in there with the 6th graders throughout the process giving feedback, and that is even eye-opening that we haven't done that in the middle school setting between 6-7, 7-8, 8-6 to really create that collaboration and that peer support group with education.
Thank you. The next slide, we had the opportunity the Suitor survey that we get provided a great opportunity for us. One of the key indicators that we got back was that teachers wanted more feedback on what's going well, how they can be better, how they can reach more students. And when we thought about that, we did a little bit of restructuring of our staff where we now have 4 staff members that are coaches. We have Holly Bodish, our deeper learning coach, Becky Jairus, our inquiry coach, Kelly Schmidt is our literacy coach, and Brad Valona is our math coach. They've had 32 hours of training, and what that looks like is they go in and they co-teach, co-plan, and co-teach, co-plan. There's another co in there that's escaping. Co-serve, thank you. That they work with the kids. They for a short amount of time. Typically, it's, can be anywhere from 6 to 9 weeks, identifying something that they want to help the kids improve on, the students improve on, and they work together and they look at what does it look like over the course of that cycle. And when we presented it as this is our way of helping them get that feedback that they want, because administration isn't always there, we also wanted to help differentiate between the feedback and the evaluation piece, so that it's their peers giving them the feedback that they desire. And it's so far we feel like it's been a success. 7 teachers have already completed formal cycles this year. When we looked at the math, it means that 168 of our 350-something students have had the benefit of being in a class that has been coached. And we have 7 other teachers that have been receiving coaching type support, whether it's a project-based learning team that's getting some support from Becky Jairus or one of the other coaches working with multiple people at the same time. It's something we are looking forward to keep moving forward with. Our challenges that we have, you know this as well as we do, where we have one of the last unsecured entrances in the building. So, and I know that we're all working towards that, and if we could change it right now, we would. But that's something that we always have in the back of our mind. Another thing that we're fighting is the perception of our school. I really like it. One of the things that really makes me feel good and bad at the same time is when a guest is walking through the school and they say, it's so quiet, kids are so engaged, this is such a beautiful building, there's all kinds of cool learning going on. I can't believe what I hear about you outside of the, and it's kind of like, well, great, I'm glad you see it when you come in, but I'd really like to change that perception outside that we are a good school. There's great things happening inside our walls. We realized that our school report card, we took a pretty big ding for attendance. That's one of the things that we're attacking as a staff this year is reversing that attendance trend so we can get those 5 points that we lost. We do not have an SRO at our building, a school resource officer, and that's something that I've been working with the West Milwaukee PD on. It's not because they don't want or because the school's not providing it. If you look at police departments across the state, I actually spoke with some from neighboring districts, the city of New Berlin and some Milwaukee. Police, they're struggling finding police officers all over. And, you know, to find somebody who wants to come in and work in a school makes it that much more challenging. Our schedule, as a staff, we've talked about the freedom we have to create the best schedule we can so that kids can learn and not be bound by bells and time structures. But because of the overall district schedule and us sharing our specialist teachers, makes it a little bit difficult sometimes for the teachers to get at what they want. So we're going to start looking at how we can start creating more opportunities within that schedule down the road. Finally, after the year of looking at it, we realized that our MTSS, our project-based learning, and AVID are what we're going to be identified by. That's going to be, you know, help create our identity. I created this visual for our staff and shared it with them last week because, you know, as we bring that together, you know, West Milwaukee Intermediate School is at our core, and that's who we are. We're at the center. And the thing that we talked about is, you know, the equity non-negotiables. You know, our kids don't have some of the same access to resources outside of school that some of the other neighboring districts and even within our district kids have. Supplemental context, trauma-sensitive schools, PTSA, culturally responsive practice, teacher compensation, budget. Those are things that affect all the teachers in our district and in many ways all the teachers in the greater Milwaukee area. So that's not unique to West Milwaukee Intermediate School, but that's something that we have to live with. But if we really focus on the MTSS, AVID, and PBL, along with our, you know, the deeper learning, the SEL, the college and career readiness, we see great things for West Milwaukee Intermediate in the future. So that's it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I went over time, but a lot.
We're not going to stop you. You're on a roll.
No.
So, what kind of questions, comments do they have? Gary?
I had a question. Is it possible to find any relationship to the math scores in Alex?
Ms. Bodish?
We shared some of that data when we did the Alex adoption, and West Milwaukee's data on that in particular was one of our stronger pieces of data. So I just want to talk a little bit about kind of the teacher feedback and the.
We haven't actually done a direct alignment to see if there is an impact from Alex to, but what we do know is when we provide Alex for students at their entry point, then they do find success, and they're learning where they're ready. So we're able to help them with skills that they need to fill in gaps. So that's a great question, and maybe something that we should actually look to see if there's a direct alignment. But
the tricky part about that is, you know, we have, with any system like that, we have to make sure that it's being done to fidelity. We had new teachers. Our math department has had some of the bigger turnover of any of our departments. So them learning a new curriculum and executing Alex to that fidelity it's difficult to track. But I can tell you that in the classrooms that we visit when we do our fidelity checks, the teachers that are holding it to its fidelity are the ones that when we look at MAP scores, and they aren't always necessarily a direct correlation, but the higher MAP scores with the teachers who have been doing it longer have also correlated to, you know, stronger fidelity in Alex. So if you ask me for a piece of paper to hand it to you to prove it, I don't have it, but.
That's right. Thank you for that feedback. I do have one other thing, and this is not necessarily a question, but something you spoke on the resource officer position. I'm also on the West Milwaukee Police Commission, and yeah, I just want everybody to know staffing is a struggle.
Yeah.
And as much as the village would like to provide that position, we have unique challenges trying to staff, like all, you know, communities staffing police officer positions. So.
Right.
Yeah, and it's been several years. We used to have at least a part-time SRO at West Milwaukee Intermediate. For years we had somebody, and then just the staffing just doesn't allow for that additional position because the force, I think, only has 3. Right, Gary?
What?
How many officers are on the force in West Milwaukee?
We have, I'm trying to think, we have some vacancies we have. I think right now we have 17, I think right now.
Bigger than I thought, okay.
I don't, I meet with the chief of police of West Milwaukee once a semester. It's been about the average so far. Great to work with. We have nothing bad to say, negative to say about their response. When we call, they're there, and and it's a good, healthy relationship. It always starts with what do you need from us and what can we provide for you, on both sides. And they've been super responsive. They tried to get creative and try to hire somebody who's retired to come back and only have that breathe for the thing, and it's just the positions just aren't out there. So I don't want it to. We're very happy with West Milwaukee PD. We just wish we could have an SRO.
Heather, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna comment on Avid. I had actually talked with Kent Kleinowski, and he had kind of mentioned to me that you guys were looking in that direction. That I'm very excited for that. Both of my girls went through Avid, and even into college, I thought, no way, they're not gonna. No, it really does carry over into even their jobs and everything. And I always tell people, I'm telling you right now, just your kids will learn so much, and it's just really the organizational skills that they learn and the note taking. I mean, we all know taking notes. You used to take 20 pages of notes. What did you actually utilize from that? Now they can sit down and do 3 pages, and they'll all be pertaining to what they're doing. So I'm very excited that you guys are heading in that direction.
Thank you.
And said one more on the school perception and have any strategies been brainstormed on what to do about that? Because your comment is spot on. Both my kids went through West, and that was always, your kids go to West? Yeah. That's the problem.
I think we're from a leadership standpoint, we got to be best at doing the things that happen inside the school before we can change the perception outside of school, and that's something that I really believe in our the staff that we have. I've been affiliated with a number of different schools, and worked with dozens of schools across the country, and I wouldn't trade working with these people for anything. For the challenging students that we have, they really are committed and dedicated to those students. We just have to get better at some things inside the building. If the fidelity with the academic programming, they're great at the MTSS and the RTI and the PBIS, and when we start tying in that project-based learning so that kids can invest in what they're doing when they get to school, they're going to start showing up more, and they're going to start caring about their education and figuring out what life looks like after school. So we just have to figure out how to do things better inside the school, and that perception will change. Once we get really good at that, then we'll have the brainstorming sessions about how we change the perception outside.
I do think we're also trying to promote through Facebook and Instagram and those social media avenues a lot more this year, to get the word out that way. The running thing that we used to always do whenever we would get a visitor in and they would make good comments, we'd say greatschools.org, greatschools, go on and give us a little snippet, go on there and give us a great comment about what you saw today, just so that, we can get that out.
No.
Attendance is obviously a big thing. It's not just with West Milwaukee, with all of our schools, but I'm interested to know what sort of maybe new things you're trying to do to try to increase your attendance at West Milwaukee.
We've, Mr. Ryan Hammernick has done a good job partnering with Marla Baum and the nurses. We've gotten some cool opportunities to have some more incentive base, and we've actually seen a couple of those kids turn. It's amazing how when you can offer a student, a $100 gift card, and they can say, well, this will help put food on the table, help us get necessary needs inside our house, and those kids have, their attendance has improved. Bucks tickets, movie tickets. We've utilizing all the positive stuff. Getting those SEL resources like the counseling has helped start to get 1 or 2 more kids, and not like this. They're fixed, but they're showing up. Where they were missing 6 to 8 days out of every 2 weeks. Now they're missing 3 to 4. So we're starting to see those small things there. We're being more conscious of the attendance meetings that we're trying to have with families. The struggle is we can send out a letter saying we would like this meeting. The ones who come in and actually go through the process with us and realize we're not out to get them, we start to see a little bit of a bump. It's the ones who are still fearful that if they show up that it means something bad is going to happen to their family, that they're not showing up. So we got to figure out how to get to them. Mr. Hammernick and our counselors do a great job of going and doing home visits to making sure that these kids are safe and to reassure with the families. that the school is a good, safe place for them to be. And, you know, we're to the point now where we're having some conversations, you know, some of those families might need that reinforcement from the police department that, no, it's still, you know, compulsory attendance is still a law. And if you're going to be working against us, you know, maybe that is one of the tools that we have to use to, you know, get them to start showing up. It's kind of one of our last resorts, but it is something we're willing to utilize.
Do you find that transportation is an issue with being outside a 2 mile, or just inside the 2 mile boundary, and then kids not being able to get to school?
Some of our bigger attendance issues, yeah, they are right at that 2 miles, especially the ones that are just on the other side of the railroad tracks. Some of and the 6th grade families, the parents struggle with, is that the safest thing for my kid? And we don't have the transportation, or the work schedules don't quite work.
Yeah.
You know, we found buddy families for them to walk or to get to and from school with. We've gotten a little bit of help there, not enough to really move the needle, but, you know, we try to partner them with other families. You know, that range for 6th grade seems to be, you know, that's close.
Right.
And we recognize it. I think the parents just need to hear that we empathize with them, that we realize that that is a long way for sometimes young kids, especially when it's the first child in the family. So that's why we try to set them up with, you know, some other resources.
That's good. I mean, I know that is a struggle in elementary schools as well, but I know it's something that can be very difficult to have someone walking in this, especially as it's getting to the temperatures we're getting now, and worrying about something like that. So I'm glad you have some strategies in place, right?
And that's one of our point of entry breakfast. We keep track of those numbers. When it started last year, we were averaging about 60, and as the word spread, we were getting upwards of 90 to 100 plus kids that were just eating breakfast. And it was really quick for me to get a good idea. Where's our attendance at for the day, just by asking the ladies that are handing out the breakfast how many came through. You know, we could see attendance patterns within the week. We could see, you know, all right, well, it's raining outside. You could have packed 30 less, you know, breakfasts, because those families are just going to come wander in. And one of the things that we've done is make sure that breakfast is available up until about 10 a.m. The last thing we want is a kid who's already day has not started off well to show up hungry.
Right.
And, you know, so we make sure that they do have food in their belly before we send them off to class.
Did you have more comments, Riley?
I was just going to ask about the Holiday Bazaar. I'm curious as to how you guys are doing it. Are you opening it to the public? Is it just for the kids? Are you doing donated things again? How are you guys running it now?
Can I get back to you on that?
Yes.
Since you know, Wendy Lewis is organizing that
Okay.
with our TSA, and we just started looking into logistics of that actually this week, so
Okay. I'm very interested. Let me know.
stand by.
All right.
Anybody else?
We'll keep up all the wonderful work. Looking forward to hearing all the progress.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you very much.
So next we have the legislative update. Wisconsin Governor-elect Tony Evers and incoming Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes will be officially inaugurated into office Monday, January 7th at 11 a.m. Following the inauguration, Evers will name his replacement for state superintendency. According to Wisconsin Statute 17.19, vacancies in elected state offices, such as state superintendent, are filled by appointment by the governor. The person appointed by Evers serves until a special election chooses a replacement, or if a special election does not take place until the term ends and a standard election occurs. And then there are no federal updates at this time. So on to our district recognitions. We have quite a few. So at Central High School, Central staff members collected food donations and raised money to make Thanksgiving baskets so that 22 students and their families could enjoy a Thanksgiving meal. Teacher Angela Gerlowski and Deeper Learning coach Ken Klanowski helped organize the incoming 9th grade academic preview night with over 120 people in attendance. The musical Shrek was a hit, and the cast and crew and pit orchestra did an outstanding job. The musical was directed by Jordan Pollard with musical direction by Ryan Zettlemore, choreography by Kristen Pajenkoff. At Nathan Hale, department chairs helped organize the incoming 9th grade academic preview night with over 350 people in attendance. Students and Peers with Purpose organized Red Ribbon Week with their advisors, Nikki Levine and Karen Zigman. Special events helped promote the importance of making drug-free choices, and over 400 students participated in Red Out Day. At Shared Journeys Charter Schools, Shared Journeys received a $5,000 grant from Associated Bank and $20,000 from the Castech Foundation. Students volunteered at a local food pantry to help organize Thanksgiving baskets. At Dockey, educational assistant Meg Holzhauer's leadership on creating and then improving the school's community closet was recognized during a site visit from representatives of the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. That was through our homeless grant. We have a required site visit, and one of the opportunities was to look at some of the resources we have for families in the district. So we had taken them to the community closet at Dockey because it is very well done. At Lane Intermediate, the deeper learning coach Carrie Skonecki helped students run a food drive collecting 1,583 items. The 3 classes that collected the most went to Feeding America to help box them for distribution. At West Milwaukee, teacher Janice Janikowski received funding from Donors Choose for 2 additional 3D printers. And the Future Business Leaders of America members hung bags and flyers on 100 doorknobs in the neighborhood to support the West Milwaukee Lions Club drive to recycle new and used eyeglasses. And then I think the last one, oh no, we have a whole nother page. Franklin Elementary, Kate Kapilewski and her 4th grade students worked with the city of West Allis and Mayor Dan Devine to decorate the Christmas tree at the West Allis Historical Society. Emily Peterson, Belinsky helped her students decorate a Christmas tree at Cathedral Square in downtown Milwaukee. And Franklin Elementary School partnered with Hunger Task Force to collect food for their food pantry. At Hoover, Lincoln Edgar in 3rd grade and Nadia Greenwald in 4th grade were nominated for the Emmy Award for the PBIS documentary on the book Nadia wrote entitled My Friend Lincoln. They got to walk on the red carpet in Chicago at the Midwest Emmy Awards. Teachers Tom Lutke, Kay Karen, and intern Kareem Assad took their 2nd and 3rd graders to Kids Christmas at the Village and Manor Park, and their students donated over 60 toys to the toy drive. At Horace Mann, music teacher Shannon Shamoya and the chorus sang the national anthem at the Milwaukee Admirals game. The physical education teacher Brian Marks coordinated the partnership. Team members came to the school to talk about literacy and meet students prior to the hockey game. At Mitchell, the Lego robotics team participated for the first time in the Oak Creek Regional Lego Robotics Competition. While the team did not move on to the next round, the students did an excellent job at their first appearance in a high-level competition. At Wilson, student Hope Marsicow was featured on WISN Channel 12's Tuesday Child. Students Melly Mercado, Lizzie Walter, Lily Schloss, and Catalia Martinez Nunez represented Wilson at the Young Authors Conference. And students Jade House, Melly Mercado, Eli Pavlik, Sienna Peters, Isabella Ramchek, Sam Zernhout, Marissa Becker, Nora Sanderson, and Lucas Piernick had their artwork featured in a holiday exhibit at West Allis City Hall. And then in athletics, at Central, the following student athletes were recognized on the Woodland All-Conference teams for the fall. In football as the scholar athlete, Riley Whitehead. In football as the offensive honorable mention team, Darius Grice, Brandon Nido, and Gunther Johnson. In football, on the defensive honorable mention team, Savon Norrington, Gunther Johnson, Tim Seymour, and Vincent Conroy Munoz. In soccer, as the scholar athlete, Sam Jorgensen. In soccer on the second team, Sam Jorgensen. In soccer on the honorable mention team, Daniel Becerra, Jose Prado, and Sam Scher. In girls volleyball on the honorable mention team, Mackenzie Gordon. And then there are no additional updates and information items at this time.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for filling in tonight, Deidre. We appreciate that. Okay, we'll go on to item 8, the board president's report. We'll begin with a review of the board calendar. So tonight is Monday, December 10th, and we have a regular Board of Education meeting followed by a workshop from Financial Stability and Efficiency on the budget calendar. Immediately following that, we will have a closed session meeting. Then Monday, December 17th, starting at 6 p.m., a regular Board of Education meeting, and then our workshop, which is Board Development with Drew Howick. And then as a reminder, that winter break is Monday, December 24th through Tuesday, January 1st, and then classes will resume on Wednesday, January 2nd. Our next regular Board of Education meeting will be Monday, January 14th, again at 6 p.m., and then a Financial Stability and Efficiency workshop on open enrollment and Chapter 220 seats. Any board members have any community events or updates? Heather?
I just wanted to say I went and saw Lane's production of Madagascar, and it was absolutely adorable. And I am just saying that was a huge cast, and I cannot believe how well those kids did for that large of a cast for their first musical. It was just phenomenal.
Great. Yes? All right, good. Okay. Then we will go on to item number 9, the consent agenda. Item 9.1, the approval of the minutes from the November 26, 2018 regular Board of Education meeting. Item 9.2, the employment summary. And item 9.2, the supplementary contracts. Does anyone need any items separated? If not, we'd look for a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, moved and approved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. All right, and then we will go on to item 10, our action items. Item 1 is the 2019-2020 school calendar.
So as we've seen already, we've had a workshop on this one, and we've discussed the results of the survey. The survey ended up coming in with 1,749 responses. We had 1,145 responses from parents and 629 from employees. So we felt like that was a pretty representative group. On a survey, that's a pretty high rate of return for that many people to have taken the survey in order to give their input. Ultimately, it came down to a difference between, or the option being the recommendation of choice D in the calendar. And so it is the recommendation that we adopt choice D in the calendar, which is the one that is attached, and I think you guys have a copy of, as well as the results of all of the surveys throughout the course of the time in which they were open. Any questions?
Yes.
So, there was some discussion in the comments that I was reading, I'm sure everyone else has read through all the comments as well, regarding consistency. And the fact that it's different than it will be this year and next year. And I think, for me, I just want to kind of reiterate the fact that we're working towards a goal of removing polling places from the schools, which is affecting our calendars decisions. And being able to not have polling places in our schools will mean we don't have to worry about that date in April, which we're kind of hanging our hat on right now for where we want spring break to fall to limit the impact it has on our school day. But that means we're not going to have consistency just yet. I think we're a couple years out from that. What is the plan, or is there a plan for what's going to happen for this time next year when we're trying to decide, is there going to be another survey that goes out, or are we going to be sticking with the first week of April until we're through that? Do we have any idea at all?
I don't know if you guys have discussed it at board committee, but we have not discussed that at directors, what the plan will be for going forward to next year. I think the survey results served us well this year, and so, but we have not discussed what that will look like yet for next year. But your comment about not being able to be consistent because of the polling issue is accurate. You know, so it would be our hope that that is something that, for safety reasons, that we can get moved out of our schools, and we're in the process of trying to do that. And then that will allow us, because that comment did come through pretty consistently, that was sort of an overwhelming idea that regardless of where it fell, that the community would like it, the employees and the parents, to be in a consistent, predictable week, year after year.
And to go off of that, because this was a while ago that we had this conversation regarding the removal of the polling places, but we were sort of given guidance that this would not be changed until after the 2020 census. So we do have a little bit of time before the entities that determine where polling places are located will come back and revisit some of these options with us. So you're right, we are kind of landlocked until the next phase of the polling place research begins. So, were there any other additional comments or questions on the recommendation and the calendar?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, been moved, approved, and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, that is the end of the action items. Do we have any board member suggestions for future agenda items? Okay. Yep.
Just one question, and I should have mentioned it earlier in the time we were talking about community events. We had our first State of the Schools meeting last week, right?
Yep. Oh, yes, thank you.
Two of them, right? One during the day, one
Yep.
in the evening. So was there any, I know we have another one tomorrow, but is there any initial?
It's a good plug.
Yeah.
Yes.
Two opportunities.
Yep.
For those out there. It'll be one in the evening. Any initial, like impressions? How was it received? How many people were there?
The daytime one, last week, Monday, was a little scarcely attended. It was also a Monday morning, so, I mean, if I didn't, if we don't have to be there, you don't have to be there, because Monday mornings are awful in general. But the Monday evening one was pretty well attended, and there were some good questions that were asked, and I think in every one of them, some learning has been happening both ways to kind of adjust the presentation to ensure that it's clear and concise and anticipating some of the questions that are being asked.
Okay.
So there are 2 presentations tomorrow. Thank you for that reminder. There is one at 10 o'clock at West Dallas City Hall, and then there's one at 6:30 at Nathan Hale. So we welcome everyone to be there. There will be some summary type videos that are being produced that kind of summarize what the meetings were about that will be available on the website. And we sent out as well that the production company that we're working with is doing.
Excellent.
So.
Where, is it in the cafeteria or is it in the
It's in the auditorium.
Auditorium tomorrow night, yeah. And then we've also decided recently to add an opportunity for staff to hear the State of the Schools presentation in January at the Professional Development Day, because we had some opportunity to add that to the calendar for that day, because I think it's really important for our staff to hear a consistent message around that. I would say the one piece of feedback we did get was a lot of thanks for doing that.
Okay.
And that people had learned some new things. One request, which we thought was really interesting, was to have each school host a State of the School for just those families at the school. We thought that was from a parent at Horace Mann. Thought that was a really interesting suggestion, and it's something that we'll discuss with principals the next time we see them after the new year.
Is there any plans on sharing any feedback from the staff when you have that meeting later on? 'Cause I'd be interested to know if they have any feedback specifically as well.
We don't have a plan to share that feedback right now. We just decided recently to do that, so we haven't made a plan yet to share that feedback back, but certainly I think it's something we can talk about.
All right. And then we will take a 5-minute recess while I break down and get ready for workshop. Thank you.